Automating your contracts and payment processing for your firm is one of the best places I like to start with automation because it creates standardization. It creates standardization in the customer experience. It can force customization and standardization in your processes. And when you have standardization in your processes, that's where you can create scale and really find the value in automation to begin with. So to start, if you aren't using Ignition, Ignition is a great tool that will allow you to automate the payment collections, to automate a lot of the renewals, to automate the contracts portion of your engagement agreements. And it's a great tool, super easy to stand up, super easy to use with a lot of flexibility. If you're currently using Ignition for your contracts and payment processing, there's a lot of ways to take it to that next level. Ignition is great because it already connects to your general ledger, has a lot of native integrations between the workflow management solutions that you may use after the client has signed. There's a few more ways that you can actually expand Ignition to take it to that next level and continuously automate and optimize your processes. I want to walk through 3 different ideas that we have today. The first one is going to be at that beginning of the sales process. When a deal is actually ready to prepare in Ignition, you may be using a tool like HubSpot or Pipedrive, one of the CRMs, or you may be using a tool like Carbon or ClickUp or one of these other more workflow management solutions to actually manage your sales process. One of the quick and easy ways that you can automate Ignition to that next level is when a lead gets to a certain stage. Now that could be a deal stage in your CRM, that could be a status within your workflow management solution, but when it gets to that stage, automatically create that contact in Ignition. Now, this is a very easy step, right? And I'm sure you're thinking, well, it takes me 2 seconds. And you're right. Those are not hard steps to make, but they're steps that are so easily able to be automated that it just continuously chips away at your workflow. It also creates consistency, whether that's capitalization, whether that's accidentally mistyping an email address, right? It creates that consistency so that the data is accurate across all of your tools and platforms. Now, let's say you send that engagement agreement. What happens next? Well, here's where the second automation can come in. When you send that engagement agreement, you could be updating statuses back in your workflow management solution or CRM and sales pipeline. Whether, once again, that's moving a deal stage, whether that's updating a status, or maybe it's moving it twice, when the proposal gets sent and then when it gets signed, right? There's a lot of ways to keep that workflow moving without you having to manually drag things or select different drop-downs. The third, and arguably my most favorite, is actually when that lead or client signs that engagement agreement out of Ignition. I know Ignition has the native integration with Carbon and a few other tools, and it works great, right? But sometimes you want a little bit more customization. For example, let's say they're a repeat customer. They are simply changing their scope on the monthly accounting work, or they are increasing the price, right? You don't want to necessarily overlap and create duplicate work items in your workflow management solution. You may want to update them and update the existing fields for the budget or the dollar value or things like that. Using the custom integration versus the native integration allows you to expand it further and actually look up in your workflow management solution. Does this client already exist for the services that they just signed for? If they do, take a different course of action. Update the fields, update the dates, things like that. If not, if they are a brand new customer, that's where you can actually create that new pieces of work or that new task checklist or that new project. Using the custom integration while they do have a native one allows you to have more flexibility in how you route projects, how you route tasks, and also make sure that the workflow is always moving so that you don't have to go and play catch up and actually clean up any of your data sets. So these are just 3 of our favorite ways that we like to build with Ignition. We actually have a link below in the description where we have a page that we talk a little bit more about this in our partnership with Ignition. So if you have any questions, or if you want to share how you automate with your Ignition, drop a comment below and like and subscribe.